Hey, this is Deface. I make things for you to put in your tabletop role-playing games, and today I've made another dungeon treasure haul. This one's for a crypt. I need to include that in the title, actually. But this is like a curated list for what you would find if you were to travel through a crypt, So it's very much not stuff typically like found in the books. It's something that you would have to make up or just say it's it is what it is and not really like say exactly what it is. For example, there's a whole list of prayers of different gods, and so like prayer of Shar, goddess of darkness and loss. You could just say it's a prayer dedicated to Shar as like about loss. You don't have to say exactly what this prayer is. You don't have to say like like off the cuff right in the moment, like try to make up a poem or whatever. Just you say this is a prayer of Shar, this is a prayer of Torm, this is a prayer of Lathander, because these are gods that really sort of belong in crypts. These are gods of like rebirth, of loss, of death, of justice. Maybe there's prayer of Tyr, who's the god of justice. Maybe you could say it's a prayer about someone asking for pretty much good karma because of this loss, things like that. Or maybe the person was murdered, and it's a prayer to Tyr to bring justice to the person who murdered the person who's in the crypt. And then there's also holy symbols of mostly the gods up here. The person who has a prayer to Shar on their grave also has a holy symbol of Shar. Maybe someone who's a wizard in life has a holy symbol of Azuth, just things like that. And then on top of that, you have scrolls of Speak with Dead, a scroll of Animate Dead, and a scroll of Revivify. Things that you could add that the players could get use out of, but also sort of tell a story with what's going on in the crypt, because they're not just going to go through a crypt if nothing is happening in there. They're not going to go through and loot a crypt if it's just like, all right, we arrived in this city, hey, let's go rob this crypt. So you could tie it to prayer for Kelemvor, the god of the dead, maybe, or god of death. There's a god of dead and god of death. Which one's Baal, which one's Kelemvor? I don't know. But so maybe there's cultists trying to raise an army of the dead, so that's where these scrolls come from, and then that's also where the prayer of Kelemvor comes from, sort of like hoping for him to I'm forgetting the word, support the expedition to make an army of the dead. And so just by throwing a couple of these items into the crypt, a couple of these items that are like beneficial to the party, they also are beneficial to the storytelling. It's like storytelling through game design, putting things where they belong, and putting things where they belong while also not telling the players why they belong there, so it allows the players to piece things together. And maybe they find a dead body in the crypt, and on that dead body, like when they first enter the crypt, there's a dead body, and on that dead body is the prayer of Kelemvor, and maybe they like are thinking, why is that there? And then maybe they piece together, oh, these cultists came through, they killed one of their members as sort of a sacrifice to Kelemvor, and this prayer is sort of like being stained or baptized in a way by that dead cultist's blood. And then again, scroll of Animate Dead, maybe they kill a cultist, find a scroll of Animate Dead on them, and then they sort of piece together the ambitions of these cultists as they're going through without it being told to them by the cultists or by you, the game master, as they're like spying on these cultists or seeing what they're doing. It's allowing your players to figure out what's going on before they see what's going on. And then, because again, these lists aren't like big pile of gold at the end of a dungeon. It's what you've like put these individually throughout the dungeon. And then for money, like, they're not going to find a pile of 12,000 copper pieces just sitting at somebody's tomb. You know, they're going to find a couple copper pieces at every grave. So, you know, they might walk out with 125 gold pieces worth of copper pieces. They might not walk out with any. Like, it depends on whether or not they're looting these graves, whether or not they're grave robbing. And so, if they were to go through all that, they would take a bunch of money left with dead people, you know, a bunch of copper pieces, a bunch of silver pieces, a bunch of gold pieces, but then also a bunch of, I went through the art pieces list and even a gemstone, and I figured out which ones would work well as like family heirlooms. So like a small gold bracelet, you know, maybe it's just a ornament that someone wore all their life or was a gift, and so like maybe it's something that was gifted by their lover, and so they're buried with it. You know, a gold locket with a painted portrait inside. There's 3 of those. You know, just people buried with lockets containing pictures of their loved ones. A pair of engraved bone dice, maybe like it was a family member well known for playing games with their dice, and these were like their special engraved dice, and so they're buried with them, you know, like a object that was very near and dear to them. And then a tiger eye, it's just a cool gem that maybe that person found in life and like carried with them as like their lucky rock, because it's not a very expensive gem, you know, it's just 10 gold pieces. It's like their lucky stone that they always carried with them, and so they'll carry it into death. And then a box of turquoise animal figurines and carved ivory statuette, again just like art pieces that maybe these dead people that made themselves in life, or that were very near and dear to them before they passed. Just a bunch of in the money section, not really just point blank, here's some money for doing this dungeon, but actual like items that have a reason to being there, both just offerings to these people who have passed and objects that had a lot of sentimental value to these people and to their survivors in life. You know, just throughout this whole treasure haul list, it's just things that belong there, you know, not just rolling on a random table. It's things that belong there, you know, like offerings and heirlooms, and also things that tell a story, like why is there a scroll of Revivify here, why is there a prayer of Kelmvor here. Maybe it's cultists, you know, just telling the story before they find the story, letting the players piece together something that's very small. Like, players always love figuring things out before it really happens, the big, like, aha moment. And by doing this, by leaving a dead body with a prayer of Kelmvor, like them killing somebody and finding a scroll of Animate Dead, it lets them figure out what's going on a much smaller scale and still having that aha moment, while it not being, like, a once in a session or once in a campaign lifetime moment where they have, like, the major aha moment when all the questions begin to be answered. So, yeah, that's a dungeon treasure haul for a crypt that really tells a story and brings everything together. So, see ya.